Hi everyone, I'm here today with a massive book haul. I have placed 2 book orders. First set of books that I got are in this pile. This is the first pile of books and I'm actually about to open another book order. So you guys are about to see this. Ugh. The last time I did a book haul video was quite honestly years ago, so this is very exciting for me. I feel like I shouldn't have purchased so many books, and these were all very impulsive decisions because there were just so many good deals going on. At the end of the day, at least I'm spending my money on books. I feel like that's how I always justify it. This is good for me. It's like brain food. I should be reading. Reading is good. This package is from Book Outlet, which means that some of the books might be a little not in the best quality. Okay, all right, let's start off with this one. Like I said, I got these books over the span of a couple of weeks, some of which I've actually already started reading. The first one being Not in Love by Ali Hazelwood. This is a new release. Ali Hazelwood is so popular and I've been seeing so many people talk about it. I honestly don't really know what the overall consensus is for this book. I figured, you know, now is the time to get back into romance. I feel like summer is an optimal time to start reading like YA romance books. I know this is not like YA, or is it? Is it YA? I don't know, it definitely doesn't read like a YA book. I am actually a little over halfway. Although I'm about to show you a whole bunch of romance books, I have never really been the one to gravitate towards like contemporary or YA romances, in the sense that like the ones that I typically read, I don't enjoy. What's really interesting is that I feel like the books that don't really have romance as like the main plot are the ones that I normally really enjoy the romance from. I really wanted to give it another shot this summer, but basically this book is about Rue and Ellie. Rue is a biotech engineer at this company called Klein. Ellie, or Eli, sorry. I don't know why I called him Ellie. Eli is working at this other company that's trying to buy out Klein. Like that is like the whole reason for conflict. And they start off as just kind of like a casual hookup situation, but then like feelings develop, so on and so forth. And then next up we have The Cook. I was drawn to this because of the cover. It's also a very thin book, so tiny. It's like the perfect book to put in my bag when I like am on the GO train. I started reading this actually the other day on the GO train, maybe got through like 20 pages of it. This is a fictional memoir about a self-taught cook who lives in Paris and Berlin, Thailand, Burma. Based off of what I'm reading on the back, it's meant to be a very beautifully written book with a lot of beautiful prose. Next we have Memoirs of an Ex-Prom Queen. I was drawn to this by the cover. This is a novel that is set in the 1950s and it deals with like a lot of feminist themes. It is about this girl named Sasha Davis who has like everything growing up in the suburbs, but then as she gets older and she's coming more into herself, as Sasha rebels against her fate, she finds herself experiencing an intellectual and sexual awakening that might be her only chance of outrunning her supposed adolescence. It's like a coming of age novel essentially about sexual double standards, job discrimination, and harassment of the 1950s and 60s. I'm very interested in this because I feel like I don't really read a lot of fictional stories set in that time period, and I definitely need to like brush up my knowledge on that. Next we have The Night Shift. I definitely got this because of the very adorably drawn cover. This art style is to die for. I like this a lot more than the very basic contemporary romance covers, if you know what I mean. I'll insert some examples here. I like this art style a lot more and I like that this is becoming a thing. I'll take anything over that other art style if I'm gonna be honest. This is already giving very like YA, like Wattpad, and I kind of already know that I'm not going to enjoy this as much. Hopefully because I have these very low expectations and standards, I will go in liking it more. This is just about a college bookworm and the campus basketball star who meet in the library and things escalate from there. So already just reading the blurb on the back, I know it's going to read very much like a Wattpad book. Hoping that it proves me wrong. I don't know, I need something like light and breezy and fun to get through for the summer. So at the same time, it's like I also don't mind that it's gonna be an easier read. Next we have Love in the Time of Serial Killers. First of all, the cover. I love this art style. I love this retro art style. This is about PhD candidate Phoebe Walsh, who is obsessed with true crime. This is very relatable because I definitely went through a period where I was just eating up everything true crime up until the point where I realized like, okay, this is getting a little bit too depressing and concerning for my mental health. Don't really consume it as often anymore. I think it's really interesting to see this as like the main focal point for like a character's personality. She thinks that her next door neighbor, Sam Dennings, is a serial killer. there. What really gets me on the back is the blurb at the bottom that's just like, it's not long before Phoebe realizes that Sam might be something much scarier, a genuinely nice guy who can pierce her armor to reach her vulnerable heart. Like, I know it's not meant to be cringy, but for some reason in my head I'm just like shivering a little. But yeah, anyways. Oh, sorry. For some reason, whenever I introduce these books, I don't like to say like the author's name, and it's just because I forget. Alicia Thompson, Annie Crown, Alex Cates Shulman. Okay, next up we have Every Summer After by Carly Fortune. I haven't read any of her books before. I don't know what her writing style is like. I don't know if I'm gonna like it. It was very much a bold move for me to get her other book called Meet Me at the Lake. I don't know if these books are related at all. All I know is that these are like the perfect, like quintessential summer reads. Everyone loves to talk about these books. It's like a small town romance. I don't really read a lot of small town romances, so this is going to be interesting. It's also childhood friends to lovers. Yeah, okay. It's childhood friends to lovers, just based off of the blurb on the back. Very interesting. I do love that trope. And this one is Thinking About Wilt Baxter. I think this is like a second chance romance, which is also set in a small town. This seems to be a common theme, which I'm here for, honestly. And then next we have the rom-coms. This one I haven't really seen a lot of people talk about. I'm very excited for this because it seems to be very inspired by all of the early 2000s rom-coms that I have always been obsessed with growing up. And I think it's very loosely based off of How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days, which is one of those like quintessential movies that everyone's seen. This is about a girl named Cassidy whose grandmother gives her a 1950s dating guide titled 125 Tips to Hook a Husband. She decides to turn that retro advice into an ironic what not to do article for Siren, the popular online women's publication she writes for. That is right there already the quintessential like early 2000s thing. A young girl in her 20s working at some sort of like publication or like magazine, and she's just living it up in the city, and you're wondering how she's able to like afford the lifestyle that she has even though she's working as just like a writer. All these like questions to be asked, but who cares, because we don't need to worry about that. All we have to worry about is the romance. The guy is named Jack Bradford, who is the creator of rival men's site Brawler. Very, very similar to How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. I'm very, very excited to read this. Already feel like it's not going to match up to my expectations, because the moment I feel like it's almost like a curse. It's like the moment I have high expectations for a book, it typically doesn't reach those standards, but I'm hoping that this book will break that. All right, now moving on to the second pile. First up, we have The Glass Castle. This is a memoir about a very dysfunctional family. I feel like I've seen this book floating around on the internet like a couple of times. One thing that you have to know about me is that I love reading books centered around dysfunctional families, especially ones that are like autobiographies or like memoirs. I eat that shit up. I don't know why. Maybe it's just because it's like relatable to me, but I think it's also just the kind of themes that you find in books like this, like how people are able to rise past like the trauma, how they're so resilient, and everything that they do to overcome being in a shitty situation. It talks about an abusive and alcoholic father, a mother that's like very free-spirited, and a family that slowly just unravels and falls apart due to the parents not being the best parents. Next up, we have Ali Hazelwood again, Love on the Brain. I don't know what this is about. I kind of wanted to read this just to enlighten and refresh my brain again, because I know that her newest book kind of strays away from like the usual formula. She typically has like very nerdy characters, and I think that's also like prevalent in her newest book as well, but I wanted to like really see it in its element. This book is about two grad students that have to work together in close proximity, and they're just like enemies to lovers, and who doesn't love a good enemies to lovers book? So next up we have Book Lovers by Emily Henry. I wanted to get this book because I know that everyone loves Emily Henry, and I wanted to see what the hype was about. I tried reading this book a while ago, and I don't remember it having a lasting impact on me. Kind of want to give it another chance because this is set in the summertime. It's summer right now. I need a good summer read, and it's kind of like enemies to lovers. It's about two editors that kind of meet and clash in a small town. Next up we have Tenders of Flesh. Is a literary fiction that is based in a world where animal meat is actually poisonous. Human meat is actually legal to eat. The main character works in a processing plant that processes all this human meat, and it is of course forbidden to really like interact with the humans. The main character named Marco, it says right here, one day he's given a gift, a live specimen of the finest quality. Though he's aware that any form of personal contact is forbidden on pain of death, little by little he starts to treat her like a human being, and soon he becomes tortured by what has been lost and what might still be saved. This is so interesting. Like, I need to read this ASAP. Next up, we have the Atlas Paradox. I recently read the Atlas 6, so this is the sequel to that. I really enjoyed the plot. I really enjoyed the characters. I raved about it so much in my last reading vlog. When I saw that there was a deal for this book, I obviously had to pick it up. It was like a no-brainer. This is a fantasy book about a secret society and all these different characters that kind of come together, have to work together to figure out what is it that this secret society needs them for. They're all very peculiar characters. You'll fall in love with them. I fell in love with them. Honestly, just so much fun to read. The book will take you through a roller coaster of like emotions. You're not going to expect what's going to happen next. It's just going to be a wild ride. I'll give you that. Lastly, we have Lives of the Monster Dogs by Kirsten Backus. I was initially very drawn to this because of the gorgeous cover. This is a sci-fi book. I have to read the blurb to you guys because I just thought the plot was so interesting. I haven't really seen too many other people talk about this book. After a century of cruel experimentation, genetically and biomechanically altered canines are produced by the followers of a 19th century Peruvian surgeon. Possessing human intelligence, speaking human language, fitted with prosthetic hands, and walking upright, the monster dogs are intended to be super soldiers, rebelling against their masters, however, and plundering the isolated village in which they were raised. The now wealthy creatures make their way to New York, where they become reluctant celebrities. Unable to reproduce, doomed to watch their race become extinct, the highly cultured dogs want no more than to live in peace, little suspecting that the real tragedy of their brief existence is only now beginning. It's kind of giving me like Frankenstein a little bit, but then also not really. I don't really read too many stories where it's about like an altered being or like monsters in general, so I'm very curious about how it's going to go, but I'm excited either way. Those are all of the books that I got. I'm very excited to read all of these. I'm excited to get through them. It's going to be a whole mission. I know it's going to take me a while. I hope you guys enjoyed this vlog. Let me know what summer books you're reading, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.